Welcome, everyone. Today we're talking about real-time RAG, using streaming data for instant knowledge augmentation. Here's the promise: RAG systems that answer with knowledge that's seconds old, not hours old. You'll see 4 words repeated throughout this deck: event, embed, index, retrieve. That's the pulse of everything we're building today. Every slide maps back to one or more of these 4 stages. Here's the central claim. Classic RAG treats retrieval as a batch problem, solved nightly or hourly. Real-time RAG treats it as a continuous, low-latency streaming problem. Most teams don't start here by choice. They retrofit real-time RAG after a batch-indexed system embarrasses them. During a live incident, a price change, a support escalation. That failure moment is usually the trigger. So let's look at exactly what that failure looks like and how to design around it. Retrieval-Augmented Generation only works as well as the index behind it. Most production RAG systems refresh their vector index on a batch cadence, hourly, nightly, sometimes weekly, because embedding and re-indexing at scale has historically been expensive. That batch cadence is invisible until the underlying data changes faster than the index does. A price update, a support ticket resolution, a live incident, a policy change. And here's the dangerous part. The model doesn't fail loudly. It answers confidently, with information that's already wrong. Look at the freshness gap on this slide. Batch RAG operates on an hours-level refresh cadence. Streaming RAG targets a seconds-level cadence from event to queryable state. That's not a small tuning difference. That's a different category of system. And to be clear, this is a spectrum, not a binary switch. Some teams get real business value just moving from daily refreshes to hourly ones, without needing full streaming. But consider the canonical failure. A support ticket RAG bot tells a customer a ticket is still open, using a status that was true 4 hours ago, but the ticket was actually resolved 20 minutes ago. That's not a technical failure. That's a trust failure. And it's the reason teams end up here. So what's the actual shift in thinking required to fix this? Let's look at the 2 pipelines side by side. The batch pipeline, a source dump, a nightly embed job, a full rebuild of the ANN index, and queries running against whatever was true at the last build. The streaming pipeline, a continuous event stream, micro-batch embedding, incremental upserts, and queries hitting a live index. Here's the key insight, and I want you to really sit with this one. Streaming does not mean no batching. Almost every real system still batches at the embedding step for GPU and API throughput. The batching didn't disappear. It moved from the index layer down to the embedding layer and shrank by orders of magnitude, from hours down to milliseconds or low seconds. The mental shift is this. The index stops being a periodic artifact you rebuild and becomes a continuously mutating structure you upsert into. Freshness becomes a property of the pipeline itself, not a cron schedule. One production note: most real-time RAG migrations don't rip out the batch pipeline entirely. They run both, batch for full historical re-embedding, say after a model upgrade, and streaming for incremental freshness day to day. A full re-embed of the entire corpus on every single event just isn't economical. Now let's make this concrete with an actual architecture. Let's trace this left to right once before we dig into any single box. Event source, a durable log, Kafka or Kinesis, decouples your producers from your consumers. Stream processor performs light windowing and deduplication. Embedding service batches records into small windows, tens to low hundreds of milliseconds, purely for throughput, not for freshness. Vector upsert, and this is actually 2 tiers, not 1. A hot in-memory buffer for records not yet merged, and the persistent ANN index for everything else. Retrieval merge queries both tiers and fuses the results. And only then does LLM generation receive a grounded context window. Now, the piece most teams skip on a first pass, and it's the piece that actually delivers the real-time promise, is that hot buffer. Without it, your freshness is bottlenecked by however often you flush into the ANN index. That just reintroduces a smaller version of the exact batch problem we started with. At query time, retrieval merge blends both tiers, typically basically applying a recency boost. So a very fresh but slightly less similar hit can still surface above an older, technically closer match. Quick question for you. Which stage would you expect to be the latency bottleneck in your own stack? Hold that thought. We'll come back to failure modes shortly. Let's look at what the stream processor and embedding service actually look like in code. This is the actual consumer loop, not pseudocode. Every line here maps to a decision that matters in production. The consumer reads from a Kafka topic asynchronously, accumulating events into a buffer. That buffer flushes on whichever comes first, a size threshold of 64 events or a 150 millisecond time window. That dual trigger is deliberate. Size-only batching stalls during quiet periods. Time-only batching wastes throughput during bursts. Once a batch is ready, we call the embedding model once for the whole batch, not once per event. That's the single biggest throughput lever you have. The upsert writes vectors, IDs, and metadata together. And critically, look at line 14. The Kafka offset is only committed after the upsert durably succeeds. That ordering is what gives you at least once delivery. If the process crashes between embedding and upsert, events replay from the last committed offset instead of silently vanishing. Now look at the dead letter branch. This is the line teams skip in a first draft and regret later. Without it, an upsert timeout means the batch either retries forever, blocking your consumer, or gets dropped forever, a silent freshness gap that shows up as customer complaints days later, not as an alert. Commit only after durability. Route failures to a dead letter queue, never drop silently. Those 3 rules will save you a very bad on-call week. So, what does this actually cost you? Let's talk trade-offs. One sentence to frame this. You can optimize for the freshest possible answer or the cheapest possible pipeline. The gap between them is a design decision, not a bug. Per-event embedding calls the encoder once per record, latency around 50 to 150 milliseconds. But throughput is capped by a single model calls latency. This is the right choice for low-volume, high-stakes streams, fraud alerts, active incident feeds, where a 100-millisecond delay is irrelevant, but a missed event is not. Micro-batched embedding accepts a small, bounded delay, the batch window, in exchange for dramatically higher throughput per dollar. For most business use cases, support knowledge bases, product catalogs, internal docs, a 1 to 2 second freshness lag is completely imperceptible to the end user, so micro-batching wins on cost without a real UX cost. Here's the pattern I'd flag. Teams often start with per-event embedding because it's conceptually simpler, then hit a cost or throughput wall a few weeks into real traffic and migrate to micro-batching. Plan for that migration path from day one. Don't treat it as a rewrite later. Now, trade-offs on paper are one thing. Let's look at what actually breaks under real load. 6 failure modes. None of these show up in a demo or a design review, only under sustained production load. Back pressure cascades are the most common. Any slowdown downstream, embedding, upsert, propagates backward into consumer lag, which is ironic because the whole point of this architecture was to eliminate lag. Duplicate embeddings come from the at least once delivery guarantee that Kafka-style logs provide by design. Idempotent upserts, keyed on event ID, are non-negotiable, not an optimization. Index fragmentation is ANN-specific. Structures like HNSW degrade under many small incremental writes. Even a fully streaming design needs a periodic compaction job running in the background. Consistency lag matters most for user-facing edit flows. If a user just edited a document, they reasonably expect the next answer to reflect that edit. Embedding drift is a versioning problem. Upgrading your embedding model silently invalidates comparisons between old and new vectors. That requires a full re-embed migration, not an incremental one. And poison events. Malformed or adversarial content propagates into your index in seconds. Validate before embedding, not after. Once something's in the vector index, it's already influencing every future retrieval. Most teams discover 2 or 3 of these in their first month of real traffic. Budgeting for compaction and validation upfront is far cheaper than retrofitting them after an incident. Now let's look at how the pieces come together in a proven production pattern. This pattern isn't exotic. It's the same hot-cold tiering used in streaming search and recommendation systems for well over a decade, adapted here for RAG's retrieval step. The hot tier is small by design. It only needs to hold the window of data not yet merged into the cold tier, so it can afford a fast, low-fidelity index, or even exhaustive search. The cold tier holds the bulk of your corpus, optimized the way a traditional vector database is optimized, for recall and storage efficiency at scale, using structures like HNSW or IVF. The critical piece is fusion at query time. Both tiers are searched, results are merged, and a recency boost is applied. So a fresh hot tier hit can outrank a technically more similar but older cold tier match. That turns freshness into a tunable ranking parameter, rather than something fixed by how recently you rebuilt your index. One practical note, the flush interval from hot to cold tier is your main tuning knob. Too short, and you pay compaction overhead constantly. Too long, and the hot tier grows large enough to lose its speed advantage. Most systems land somewhere between 30 seconds and a few minutes. Now, where is this architecture actually heading next?
Here's a question worth sitting with. Do you really need to re-embed every single change, or just the changes that would actually alter what gets retrieved? Re-embedding every changed record is the obvious approach. It's also often wasteful. A cosmetic edit, a typo fix, a formatting change produces a diff but barely moves the embedding vector. A substantive edit, a changed price, a changed policy, moves it significantly. The frontier pattern computes an embedding distance delta between old and new content and only triggers a full reindex when that delta crosses a threshold. Otherwise, the update is logged, but the vector is left untouched. This decouples reindex cost from edit frequency and ties it instead to semantic materiality, which is the property that actually matters for retrieval quality. I want to be honest, this is still genuinely an emerging pattern. The threshold needs tuning per domain. A legal document corpus and a chat log corpus will have very different natural distributions for what counts as a meaningful change. Most teams start conservative and loosen the threshold once they've validated it isn't silently swallowing important updates. Let's pull all of this together into the principles worth taking with you. 5 decision rules, not a recap. Use these next time you're deciding whether something belongs in the batch path or the streaming path. 1. Freshness is a pipeline property, not a schedule. Design the index as continuously mutable from day 1. 2. Batch the embedding step, not the index rebuild. Micro-batching for throughput is fine. Batching the full index refresh is what causes staleness. 3. A hot tier is what makes real-time real. Without an in-memory buffer ahead of the persisted index, freshness is bottlenecked by your flush interval. 4. Item potency and dead letter handling aren't optional. At least once delivery and silent upsert failures are the default, not edge cases. 5. Spend your re-indexing budget on semantic change, not raw edit volume. Not every content change deserves a re-embed. If you take away just one of these, make it the hot tier. It's the single highest leverage architectural decision and the one most commonly skipped under time pressure. A few pointers if you want to go deeper, split into 3 buckets. Papers, active retrieval-augmented generation, and self-RAG. Both address adaptive and reflective retrieval timing, a natural next step once your streaming plumbing is in place. Docs, Kafka and Kinesis consumer group semantics, essential reading before you implement the ingestion pattern we walked through. And HNSW and IVF index internals for anyone tuning that compaction job. And tools. When you're evaluating a vector database for streaming RAG, push vendors specifically on upsert latency and consistency guarantees, not just recall. Recall benchmarks, which is the number most vendors lead with, tell you nothing about how the system behaves under continuous write load. That's real-time RAG, using streaming data for instant knowledge augmentation. To recap the shape of it, stale retrieval fails quietly, not loudly. The fix is architectural, a hot tier, item-potent upserts, and a fusion step that treats freshness as a tunable ranking signal, not a rebuild schedule. I'll open it up for questions, and if nothing comes up right away, I'll leave you with this one. Does your own content have a lot of cosmetic churn relative to substantive churn? That ratio is what determines how much the semantic change detection pattern would actually save you. Thanks for your time.